Hi, this is Abhijit. Let us learn in this session an important concept of earned value management in Microsoft project. And for that purpose, you will need to include a few columns, add them to your schedule. Let me walk you through the columns. First, let us understand about what is earned value management. So you need to track based on your current situation from where you started the project. As of today, what you should have achieved in the project, how much you should have spent in the project versus what you have done as the ground reality, how much of the work you've completed versus how much you have spent, what is your variance, and based on which you understand the health status. A detailed training on earned value management can be found on the web. However, this session is more likely to be towards how you actually track your earned value parameters in a Microsoft project. For that purpose, you need to insert a few columns. So the standard columns are as is that you see here, but the columns that you need to insert are number one, which is BCWS. Right click, insert column BCWS. And then in order to understand it appropriately, what I did is I right clicked on it. I went to field settings and I wrote here BCWS equals plan value. And that's how I came to this column. I'm going to hide this. Let us understand what is BCWS. It is the budgeted cost of the work scheduled, which is your plan value. How much have you budgeted to complete on a particular day? Now you have your earned value. This is the budgeted cost of work performed. How much have you actually performed based on your percentage complete? The next one, which is your actual cost of the work performed. How much have you spent in order to get this cost accomplished? And you have your baseline cost as well, saying I planned to actually spend or agreed to actually spend X dollars. However, I've spent this much. Based on which you get your variances. You will have your variances as your cost variance, which is your plan value minus your own value. Then you have your schedule variance, which is your plan value. This is your cost variance, which is your BCWP, earned value, minus actual cost. Schedule variance, which is your, again, BCWP, which is your earned value, minus your plan value, which is BCWS. Your schedule performance index, which is based on the formula below, which is your BCWP, earned value divided by plan value as a standard formula. Your cost performance index again, which is your BCWP, earned value divided by the actual cost. You have your estimate at completion, and the formula is given below. This formula is a bit complicated. You can actually add custom columns to work on the formula of your choice. If you follow the PMI standards, there could be multiple formulas for you to actually look into. We're not going into much details about them. I think you have an understanding of how exactly you track where you are. So the session is actually going to tell you what have you planned, how much have you achieved now, how much you should have completed by now, and what is your variance so that you can take necessary steps in order to get them corrected. Done? Okay, let us now look at a very simple project plan, which is with 3 tasks. Few resources assigned. Let us look into the resource sheet as well. Right click, go to the resource sheet, and you find that I have a resource 1, 2, and 3, and they all have a standard rate of $100 an hour. Very simple, nothing else. I go back to the Gantt chart again. Now, what you need to do in order to run your project. So During your planning phase or initiation phase, you actually work with your team members in order to progressively elaborate your project plan. And before you start execution, you baseline your project plan, which actually says that, yes, we all have agreed that here are the list of tasks, and we think in the best of our knowledge and the constraints, we will be able to complete the task by this time, by within this budget, and with the resources, including their availability and limitations. So first of all, you need to be extremely cautious about the steps that I'm going to show you. First, go to project information, ensure that you have a status date when you actually think of doing an earned value management. EVM is based on the status date in your project plan. Based on the status date, which is 12th of January, which is today when I'm recording the session, what you should have achieved by now, how much you would have spent by now is from where you are going to track what you have actually accomplished. The current date actually helps you to baseline your project. So first step is go to project information, ensure that you actually update the status date. So every week when you report, you must update the status date, or else you are always reporting on some other date, which will not match up appropriately. Got it? Now let's go back to, now I'm still on the project ribbon and I click on set baseline, and I'm going to baseline the entire project. And I say, okay. So now that you have baselined the entire project, it gives you the baseline detail lined. And let us see where we are today. So based on the project information, we are on 12th of January. Now, if we are on 12th of January, we started task number 1 on 6th of January, and we should have completed 6th of January, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, and 5 days worth of work. Now, if you've completed 5 days worth of work, what is your plan value? I have Excel spreadsheet which actually explains it. So your plan value, 5 days worth of work, 5 into 8 hours into $100, which is the cost of this resource, which is around 4,000 rupees. This is your plan value. And say you have actually, now how much you've actually completed. Let's say you completed 20% of the work. Okay, so 20% of the work, which actually is around 10 days into 8 hours into 100 rupees is 8,000 rupees, is the worth of work that you should have completed by 19th of January, because the duration is 10 days, 20% of that work. Okay, so here is 20% of the work. That comes to 1,600. And that you see is that you have actually earned, that means you've actually done 1,600 rupees worth of work. And say, how much have you spent? I would say that you've actually spent around 3,000 rupees. Now, in order to actually put in the actual cost, you need to go to File, you need to go to Options. Under Options, go to Display, Schedule, and under Schedule, you will see actual costs are always calculated by the project. You need to uncheck this button. This actually allows you to put in the actual cost, else the actual cost is read-only because it gets automatically calculated. Now you see that you have put in the actual cost. Your baseline cost still remains 8,000 rupees where you started. So what is your cost variance? You are supposed to complete 4,000 rupees worth of work. You've actually done 1,600 rupees worth of work. So you have a negative cost variance. So you've actually spent, you've actually spent 3,000 rupees, but you've actually yielded 1,600 rupees worth of work. I repeat, the cost variance is you've actually spent 3,000 rupees, but you have actually done work worth 1,600 rupees. So you have a negative cost variance. Now, for the schedule variance, you have actually planned for 4,000 rupees worth of work, but you have actually done 1,600 rupees worth of work. So here is your schedule variance. That means you are running late. and you've actually spent more. You get your SPI and CPI, the schedule performance index, and the cost for performance index automatically calculated for you. Okay, once more, I am on, so go to project, project information, select the status date. Remember, this is based on the status date that you actually see what's going to happen for you. So on 12th of January, where am I supposed to be? Based on what you know, on 12th of January, you are supposed to complete 5 days worth of work, which is, if I look into some calculations in Excel, 5 days worth of work is 5 days into 8 hours into 100 rupees for the resource, which is around 4,000 rupees. How much you have actually performed the work is 20% of the work has been done. So 20% worth of earned value is around, so the entire work is 8,000, 10 days worth of work multiplied by 8 hours, multiplied by 100 rupees, which is per hour resource cost. And then you multiply it by 20%, which gives you, you've actually done work of 1,600 rupees. Now, how do I get the calculation done? Your cost variance is your actual spend. You actually spent 3,000 rupees for this particular task, but you have actually earned 1,600 rupees worth of work. So you have a negative cost variance, which means you've actually spent more than what you have done. Next, you have schedule variance as well. And the schedule variance is your earned value minus plan value, your plan value minus earned value. And your plan value is you are supposed to complete 4,000 rupees worth of work. However, you have earned only 1,600 rupees worth of work. So you are actually behind the schedule at this point. Your SPI and CPI gets calculated based on the formulas appropriately that you see here. This actually gives you an indication of where your project is heading towards, how far have you done, and what needs to be done in order to make things happen. I hope this example gives you a decent understanding of earned value management in the Microsoft project.